So in today's class, we are going to do the full reading test. We are not only going to do the full reading test, but I'll also be discussing every question along with the right logics. Please watch this full video. It will really help you a lot. I'm going to give you a very good shortcut for multiple choice question, multiple answers. I will be discussing all the blanks with proper logics, proper strategies, why the answer is whatever the answer is, and why and how you should approach that, or how you should select that particular response. Same thing we'll do with reorder paragraphs. So with proper understanding of how to connect and how to form the right sentences, connect the right sentences in reorder paragraph, we'll be doing this, right? So watch this full video. I hope this will be helpful. All right. This is Taran from Study Hub with another very helpful video about the new reading test. I'll give you a quick overview about the reading test. So in today's test, we are going to have 17 questions and we should complete this in about 30 minutes. Multiple choice question, single answer. So in real exam, you will have 1 to 2 questions and you should try to spend less than 1 minute on this question. Then we have got multiple choice question, multiple answers. Again, you'll have 1 to 2 questions in real exam and you should be spending less than 1 minute. But the strategy or the trick that I'm going to teach you in multiple choice, multiple answers will be fantastic. You'll really like it. Then we come across to reorder paragraphs. On an average, you should spend about 2 to 3 minutes on each reorder paragraphs. In real exam, you will have 2 to 3 questions. Then we have got reading fill in the blanks. We also call them drag and drop blanks. You should be spending about 1.5 minutes on each question. 4 to 5 questions will be there. And then we come across the most important question, drop down blanks. We also call them reading, writing, fill in the blanks. In real exam, you will have around 5 to 6 questions and should be spending about 2 to 2.5 minutes, right? So let's begin without wasting much time. Let's start with the test. What I'll recommend in this case, for each question, make sure you pause the video and do that question. Spend the amount of time that I've just mentioned on each question, or even if you want to spend more time, try to solve that question. Pause the video. Only when you have solved the question, come back to the discussion and look at how I'm going to approach or what my discussion is. So here we have first question on the screen. It is multiple choice question, multiple answers. You can pause the video, spend about less than 1 minute and try to select one of the options here. Let me straight away go into the discussion how we will be approaching this question. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the question. Which of the following statements about alternative medicines are correct according to the passage? Read the options. Alternative medicines are a substitute for modern medicine. Alternative medicines were the most effective treatment in the past. Alternative medicines are getting popularity nowadays. Alternative medicines are now being accepted by more doctors. Alternative medicines are generally administered by unqualified practitioners. WHO has an intolerant attitude towards alternative medicine. I'm going to give you a very good trick here, and this trick is 100% applicable, or let's say 99.9% applicable. All you need to do is, for similar questions in multiple choice, multiple answers only, you don't have to read the whole passage, whole paragraph here. You just have to read the first 2 lines and the last couple of lines, and you will definitely find at least one response that will be from these 2 spots here. But when you're reading these 4 lines, no matter how many lines are there, if you're reading these 4 lines, make sure that you read them properly. And if they are in different paragraphs, here we have one paragraph, please listen to this carefully. If there are different paragraphs, then you're going to read the first and last line of each paragraph and then approach the question. So let's do this one here. Alternative medicine is an alternative to something else, modern Western medicine, but the term alternative can be misleading, even off-putting for some people. Few practitioners of homeopathy, acupuncture, herbalism, and the like regard their therapies as complete substitutes for modern medicine. Go to the last one. Despite the medical establishment's intolerant attitude, alternative therapies are being accepted by more and more doctors, and the WHO, World Health Organization, has agreed to promote the integration of proven, valuable alternative knowledge and skills in Western medicine. Now go to the options and select the right option. You don't have to get all correct, whatever you can find out from there. Alternative medicine are a substitute for modern medicine. I don't know. right? I don't know. So this is something that I didn't read. It may be there somewhere in the middle, but let's not worry about wasting time on this question. It is not an important question. Alternative medicines were the most effective treatment in the past. I don't know. Alternative medicines are getting popularity nowadays. Looks like that is the answer. Alternative medicines are now being accepted by more doctors. Definitely that is the answer, because we saw that somewhere here in the last line, more and more doctors, right, are being accepted. So are now being accepted by more and more doctors. Alternative medicines are generally administered by unqualified practitioners. I don't know. WHO has an intolerant attitude towards alternative medicine. Wrong, because they are accepting it now here in the last paragraph. So 3 of them I don't know, 2 of them I'm 100% sure, and 1 I'm 100% sure is not the answer. By doing this, although you are not able to get all correct, but at least you will have 1, and in some cases you will have 2 correct responses by just reading the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines of the paragraph. So the answers for this one will be C and D. Now apply this trick to the next question and see if this really helps you. Feel free to pause your video and solve this question, and then come back and have a look at the discussion. Which of the following statements are true according to the author? So we are looking at the statements that are true according to the author. You can quickly look at the options, and then you're going to read the first 2 lines, finish here, and the last couple of lines, these ones here. But when you're reading this, read it very carefully. Bullying can take a variety of forms, from the verbal, being taunted or called hurtful names, to the physical, being kicked or shoved, as well as indirect forms, such as being excluded from social groups. A survey I conducted with Irene Whitney found that in British primary schools, up to a quarter of pupils reported experience of bullying, which in about 1 in 10 cases was persistent. So we're talking about something about bullying, what they saw in primary schools. There is no bullying at this school has been a common refrain, almost certainly untrue. Fortunately, more schools are now saying there is not much bullying here, but when it occurs, we have a clear policy for dealing with it. We'll go to the options. A. In Britain, bullying was more prevalent in secondary schools than primary schools. I don't know. Bullying has the potential to make a child feel unhappy. I don't know. In extreme cases, bullying often leads to suicide. I don't know. Children who bully become criminals in the future. No. Schools admit that there is bullying in there. So by doing this approach, or doing this, applying this technique, in this case, I'm able to find 1 correct response. And I'm happy with that, because I'm spending less time and energy solving this question. So in this case, I'll only select E. Schools admit that there is bullying there. There may be more than 1 response is correct, which we'll look at the end of the session. Now let's move to the next question. Check my video, which is on the YouTube channel, on this channel, which is telling you the techniques or strategies or approach that you should be using when you're doing your reorder paragraphs. We are going to spend about 2 to 3 minutes, so feel free to pause the video, solve this, and come back to the discussion. Okay, let's try to solve this. First of all, I'm going to read all the sentences here. So the first one, Parks was chosen by King as the face for his campaign because of Parks' good standing with the community, her employment, and her marital status. Earlier in 1955, Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old African-American girl, had been arrested for the same crime. However, King and his civil rights compatriots did not feel that she would serve as an effective face for their civil rights campaign. Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to vacate her seat in the middle of the bus so that a white man could sit in her place. Parks' arrest, a coordinated tactic meant to spark a grassroots movement, succeeded in catalyzing the Montgomery bus boycott. She was arrested for her civil disobedience. So when I'm going through all, what I realize, this paragraph is about Rosa Parks, because that is one name that is pretty much in every sentence, So our main focus should be on Rosa Parks. And while I am doing that, I realize that I've got some independent and some not independent sentence. For example, first one, Parks was chosen by King as the face for his campaign because of Parks' good standing with the community, her employment, and her marital status. It is an independent sentence. Earlier in 1955, Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old African-American girl, had been arrested for the same crime. So this is not an independent sentence, because they are saying same crime. Which crime? However, King and his civil rights compatriots did not feel that she would serve as an effective face for their civil rights campaign. Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to vacate her seat in the middle of bus so that a white man could sit in her place. Freestanding sentence. Parks' arrest, a coordinated tactic meant to spark a grassroots movement, succeeded in catalyzing the Montgomery bus boycott. Freestanding. She was arrested, so she, not a free. So we have got 3 freestanding sentences. And when I look at these 3 freestanding sentences, next thing I'm going to do is, so first thing, read all and find out the main idea. Look for independent sentences. Now we are going to select a sentence that is going to introduce the main idea, and main idea in this case is Rosa Parks. So out of these 3 sentences, A, C and D, where do you think Rosa Parks is getting introduced? Of course, this one here. So this is going to be your first statement. Now, it is advisable to eliminate the options before you select the next one. So applying the logic, 2 logics. One is finish talking about one thing before moving to the other. Second logic is ending phrase of one should link to the beginning of the other. So when I apply that logic, I can clearly identify that I cannot go to B because I have to finish talking about Parks before I can start talking about another person, in this case Claudette Colvin. So I cannot go to B from C. I can go to A, D or E. And then when I look at A, D or E, I cannot go to D as well. Parks' arrest are coordinated because they are not talking about any arrest in C. They are not talking about that. So I cannot go to B, I cannot go to D. From C, I can go to A or E. A or E. Let's see the ending phrase of C. Does it link to A or E? Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to vacate her seat in the middle of bus so that a white man could sit in her place. She was arrested for her civil disobedience. Or Rosa Parks was chosen by King as the face of his campaign. Now look at the link from C is going to E because we are talking about civil disobedience, which is refusing, linking to disobedience, and she was arrested for what was the civil disobedience? They are mentioning it here, not vacating the seat for white man. So from C we go to E. Now applying the same logic, we cannot go to B. We can go to A or we can go to D. Let's see the ending phrase of E. Does it link to A or D? She was arrested for her civil disobedience. Parks' arrest. So E is linking to D because this is talking about arrest and this is continuing on with that arrest. So next one has to be D. And from D, I'll go to A because I have to finish talking about one thing before moving to the other. So we go to A. And from A, of course, you're going to B. So the answer in this case will be C, E, D, A, B. That's the answer. Alright, let's look at the next question and try to solve this question using the same logics. Feel free to pause your video again, spend about 2-3 minutes solving this and come back and have a look at the discussion. Let's solve it. I'm going to read all the sentences and look for the main idea and also look for the independent sentences. Now, if you really haven't seen my video about what are the steps that you need to follow, please watch it on the YouTube channel. There is a very good video about reorder paragraphs. Roads of rails called wagonways were being used in Germany as early as 1550. Okay, it is an independent sentence. The flange was a groove that allowed the wheels to better grip the rail. This was an important design that carried out to later locomotives. So this is not a freestanding sentence for 2 reasons. One, they are talking about the flange. Which flange? I can only say the before a common noun after I have introduced it. So I need to introduce flange before I can refer to it as the flange. And for the same reason, the wheels and the rail. Which wheels, which rails are we talking about? By 1776, iron had replaced the wood in the rails and wheels on the carts. Again, for the same reason, it is not an independent sentence. The wood on the rails and wheels on the carts, right? So I need to introduce wood and cart, or I need to have some reference to wood and cart before I can refer to it as the carts. In 1789, Englishman William Jessop designed the first wagons with flanged wheels. Now look at that. We are getting that word flanged here. These primitive rails, again, this is not an independent sentence because it is consisted of wooden rails over which horse-drawn wagons or carts moved with. So we are getting introduced to wooden and wagons and carts. So wagonways were the beginning of modern railroad. So in this case, we have got two independent sentences, A and D. So either we can start with A or D. Now look at the, either we can start with A or D. So we have got two independent sentences in this case. Now you have to look at what is the main idea, topic. The topic here is sort of, if you can look at all of that, it's the development of railways or history of railways, sort of those things. So where do you think is it starting? Is it starting in A or D? Roads of rails called wagonways were being used in Germany as early as 1550, or in 1789 Englishman William Jessup designed the first wagons with flanged wheels. So we are definitely going to start with A. A will be my first one. Now from first one I cannot go to B, let's eliminate, and I cannot go to C because they are talking about the wood and the carts, right? So I cannot go to A. From A I cannot go to B, it's saying the flange, and I cannot go to C because they are referring to the wood and the carts, nothing mentioned in here. So from A either you can go to D or you can go to E. Now look at the ending phrase or look at the link. Roads of rails called wagonways were being used in Germany as early as 1550. These primitive railroads consist of wooden rails, or in 1789 Englishman William Jessup designed. Where do you think the right link over here is? So from A we can go to E because these primitive means yesteryears, old. So we go to E. From E we have to go to B, C or D. Again we cannot go to B. Why? Because there is no flange to which I can refer to it as the flange. Very helpful strategy. I can go to C or D, and when I go by the logic link, they are saying that wooden rails over which horse-drawn wagons or carts moved with greater ease than over dirt roads, wagonways were the beginning of modern railroads. By 1776 iron had replaced the wood, or in 1789 Englishmen designed the first wagons with flanged wheels. So from A we will go to C because now the wood is referring to wooden rails here and the carts is referring to these carts here. So we got the reference to C, and from C we will go to D because still I cannot go to B, there is no flange mentioned in C. So I'll go to D. Now we are introduced to that flanged wheel, and I will go to B. So answer is A, E, C, D, B. So far so good. Okay, let's move to the next question. Again do the same thing. You're going to pause it and apply the logic, solve it, and then come back and have a look at the discussion. Let's solve this one. So first thing, I'm going to read all the sentences and identify the main idea and independent sentences. Main idea, independent sentences. These problems otherwise, so not independent, would not have the political urgency to grab front page headlines and command the attention of world leaders. In fact, the world body was born when delegates from 50 nations met in San Francisco in April 1945 and for the United Nations Conference on International Organization. So in fact, we don't normally start, that means there is something before it, and then we can use these adverbial phrases, in fact, firstly, secondly. Conferences have played a key role in guiding the work of the United Nations since its very inception. It is an independent sentence. The recent high-profile conferences on development issues, which have continued a series that began in the 1970s, have broken new ground in many areas by involving presidents, prime ministers, and other heads of state, as pioneered at the 1990 World Summit for Children. Next one, these events have put long-term difficult problems like poverty and environmental degradation at the top of the global agenda. These events, which events? So we need to refer to the events before this. So we have got 3 and 4. 2 of them are independent sentences. Now what is the main idea here? The main idea here is about the conferences of United Nations. And where do you think we are starting or introducing it? In 3 or 4? So 3 is saying conferences have played a key role in guiding the work of the UNO. The recent high profile conference of development issues. So conferences are getting introduced in number 3. So we are starting with 3. Conferences have played a key role. That's where we are introducing the conferences. Now applying the logics of ending phrase of one should link to the beginning of other and finish talking about one thing before moving to the other. So when we apply that logic, we will be eliminating certain words. So these problems, for example, we cannot go to 1 after 3 because there are no problems mentioned here. And also these events, we don't know, right? So they are not mentioning any events in this. So from 3 we can either go to 2 or we can go to 4. Now look at the link, finish talking about one thing before moving to the other. So here they're saying conferences have played a key role in guiding the work of the United Nations since its very inception. In fact, the world body was born when delegates from 50 nations met in San Francisco, or the recent high-profile conferences on development issues which have continued a series that began in 1970. So where do we go, 2 or 4? When we apply the logic of finish talking about one thing, be moving to the other, we are going to go to 4, because this is continuing on with the idea of inception, which means beginning, start. And here they are saying the world body was born, which is relevant to, which is related to third one. From second, we can again cannot go to 1. We can either go to 4 or we can go to 5. And even if you look at 5, we can't go to. So from 3 we go to 2, and from 2 we cannot go to 1 because there are no problems mentioned in second one, and we also cannot go to 5 because there are no events mentioned here. So the only option left is we go to 4, and from 4 we can either go to 1 or we can go to 5. Now look at whether they are talking about problems in this one or events. So if you look at the recent high-profile conferences on development issues which have continued a series that began in the 1970s have broken new ground in many areas by involving presidents, prime ministers and other heads of state as pioneers. So there are no problems mentioned in 4. So we go to 5 because these events means the recent high-profile conferences are referred to as these events. And towards the end of 5, you can see difficult, the problems they're talking about, poverty, environmental. So these problems is referring to the problems mentioned in 5. So now we go to 1. So answer is 3, 2, 4, 5, 1. Right? If you know the logics, these questions are easy, and right, you can easily get the scores. But if you don't apply the logics, these questions can completely confuse you. Right? Next, let's move to the blanks. Now again, if you have not watched the video about reading blanks, the strategies, please feel free to just watch the video whenever you get time, and then approach these questions. It will be very, very helpful, and you will see a dramatic change in the way you approach these questions. Right? Let's begin with the question now. So here is the first question. Fill in the blanks. Feel free to just pause and come back to it. Solve it and come back to it. So now what we do in this, the first thing we are going to do in this question is we are going to look at what do we have: distort, lead, represented, expressed, industrial, reflect, average. So we have some verbs there, some ed verbs there. We have got an adjective there, verb, adjective. So it's combination of verbs, adjectives, and in verb forms we have got base form and ed form. Now let's solve this question. The Dow Jones Industrial Average reports the average stock price of 30 large publicly traded US companies. It tends to dash the state of the stock market as a whole. It tends to dash the state of the stock market as a whole. So after 2, we go to base form verb as per the logics. I'm going to do it, I'm going to write it, I'm going to complete it. So we go to the base form of the verb. So in that case, we can either go to distort, lead, reflect, these 3 words. Now look at the context. What is this it referring to? It is referring to this report that they are mentioning in that DJIA report. What can report do? Report can distort the state of the stock market, lead the state of the stock market, or reflect the state of the stock market. So reports can show you certain things. Reports can highlight certain things, and therefore the answer will be reflect. The state of the stock market, though its name would, so after would we always go for base form verb again, base form verb, no ing, no ed, no s form, base form verb. So we can either go to distort or lead. Though its name would dash you to believe the DGIA is made up of only dash companies, though its name would dash you to believe, distort you to believe, or lead you to believe. So what can the name do? Name can distort you to believe, or name can lead you to believe. So there is a collocation being used here with to. So we are going to use the word lead you to, lead to, collocation. Is made up of only dash companies. We need an adjective here. It's a noun phrase, of only dash companies, industrial companies or average companies. Answer can be either one. So if we read further, the DJIA in fact contains stocks across many industries. So therefore more appropriate response here will be industrial. So far we have used lead, we have used industrial. Now we move to the last one. The business dash include finance, food, technology, retail, equipment. The business dash, we need a verb here. So which verb do you think we are going to use here? Represented or expressed? Because distort won't make sense. Average is not a verb. The business represented include or business expressed include? So what does the business, these ones here, finance, food, technology, what can this be? So we can say the businesses represented here include these finance, food, technology, retail, heavy equipment, oil, chemical and others. So answers are reflect, lead, industrial and represented. Let's move to the next question. Please feel free to pause the video, solve this and come back to the discussion. With the increase in women's dash, so we need a noun there. Women's, always when you have a blank after apostrophe s, we need a noun. Teacher's lecture, students card, city's founders, morning's lecture. So we are going to go with the noun here. And what are the nouns? All of them are nouns there. Right, all of them are nouns there. So with the increase in women's dash in labor force, many mothers have less time available to undertake domestic activities. With the increase in women's something in the labor force, so what do women do? Women's relationship in the labor force, relationship with, right? We don't say relationship in. Expectations in, expect roles, responsibilities, occupations or participation in the labor force. So answer will be participation, because women can participate in the labor force. Answer will be participation in the labor force. Many mothers have less time available to undertake domestic activities. At the same time, there has been increasing recognition that the father's role and dash with the child is important. Father's role and, we are applying apples with apples logic. Role and something, father's role and something, and also will be applying the collocation logic. We need to select a word that is used with. So can we say role and relationship with the child? Role and expectation with the child, expectation of a child. Role and responsibilities with the child, responsibilities, we don't say with, we say responsibilities of a child. Occupations won't make sense. So we need a similar word, and similar words are either relationship or responsibilities, but the word out of responsibilities and relationship that will be used with is relationship. So it will be role and relationship with the child. A father can have many dash in the family. So many dash, we need a noun here, and a noun has to be plural, many. So we can say many roles, many responsibilities or many occupations. Now a father can have many roles, yes. A father can have many responsibilities, they seem to go in well there. Occupation doesn't seem to fit in well. So out of roles and responsibilities, to identify what is going to be the exact or right answer, we need to read it further to understand the context. Ranging from income provider, who is income provider, teacher, carer, playmate, role model, who are these? Are these responsibilities or are these different roles? They are roles. So many roles in the family. Therefore, balancing paid work and family something can be an important issue for fathers and mothers in family. So therefore, balancing paid work and family dash can be noun. Paid work and family responsibilities, family expectation or family occupation. So what are we going to select here? Now we can either say family expectation or we can say responsibilities. But what are we mainly talking about in this particular sentence? We are talking about expectations of the family, or are we talking about more about the responsibilities? Answer will be responsibilities. All right, let's look at the next question now. So look at the options: aware, understanding, distinguish, memorize, similarity, familiar, view, difference. So we have got ing verbs, we have got some adjectives, nouns, verbs, everything, mix of everything. So let's try to do it. From a child's point of dash. Now some things are so obvious that you don't have to even look at the option. For example, in this case, from a child's point of view, we have something in common. So these are very popular phrases or collocations, we can call them. So first of all, I'll look for the word if view is there. Otherwise, I will apply the logic. Now view is there, so we are straight away going to go to from a child's point of view. What is the purpose of TV advertising? Is advertising on TV done to give actors the opportunity to take a rest or dash their lines? A verb is needed. Applying subject, verb, object. So we have got a noun here. So we need a verb here. And verb has to be base form because previously we are using a base form. Take a rest or dash their lines. Take a rest or dash their lines. So take a rest or memorize their lines, because lines can be memorized in advertising. So it will be memorize. Or is it done to make people buy things? Furthermore, is the main dash between programs and commercials that commercials are for real, whereas, so we are looking at difference here, whereas programs are not, or that programs are for kids and commercials for adults. So we cannot go to similarities because whereas is being used. So we can go to distinguish, difference. Let's see which one is making more sense. Is the main difference between, so again we are going to use, so answer will be difference between. Distinguish between will not make sense. As has been shown several times in the literature, some children are able to dash between programs and commercials. Some students are able to dash between programs and commercials and are off. So we are talking about two different things, programs and commercials. Base form verb, so we can say some children are able to aware between. That doesn't go with between, so we need to look at the collocation as well. Distinguish between, that makes sense. So answer is distinguish between programs, because answers are point of view, memorize their lines, difference between programs, and distinguish between programs and commercials. All right, let's move to the next question. So we look at the options: complain, attitude, expressions, estimated, observed, supplanted, rules. Daniel Harris, a scholar of consumption and style, has dashed that until photography finally dash illustration as the primary means of advertising clothing in 1950s. Has is followed by third form verb. Has ed. Has observed, supplanted, estimated. For now I don't know the meaning of supplanted, but I cannot go to estimated because for estimated to be the answer we have to talk about some numbers, some figures. That's when the estimated is used. Go with observed or with supplanted. So has observed that until photography finally dash illustration. Has observed, that makes sense. So a person can observe that photography. So answer will be observed in this case. Until photography finally dash illustration. Photography finally, when you see ly words, sort of ignore them. So in that case the blank is after a noun, so we need a verb. And because we are talking about past, we need a past verb. So either I can say estimated or supplanted. Now look at the power of logic. I don't know the meaning of supplanted here. I'm not very confident with the meaning, but I know estimated cannot go in there because we are not talking about any numbers. So the only option we can go will be supplanted. Illustration as drawing, which was by necessity schematic and generalized. Then in the sketches dash, posture and gestures. Sketches dash, noun is needed, posture and gesture. So we have got a blank after apostrophe, so we need a noun here. So we can say sketches attitude or sketches expressions. Well, both of them can go in the sketches attitude or sketches expressions. Let's try to solve the next one, because sometimes solving the next one will help you with this one, with the previous one. Glamour once resided so emphatically in the stance of the model that the faces in the illustrations cannot really be said to have dash at all, but angles or tilts. So what do you think the faces can have in illustrations? Faces can have attitude or faces can have expressions. So in this case faces can have expressions, and therefore answer for the first one will be attitude. We look at the options: flexible, role, constructive, austere, overall, productive, action, anticipate. The process of delegation comprises the decision to delegate, the briefing and the follow-up. At each of these points dash the potential problems. At each of these points dash the potential problems. Verb, object, noun. Noun is needed here. Noun is already there, we need a verb here. Verb, the problems. So what do you want to do with the problems? You want to austere the problem, action the problem, anticipate the problem. Which one you think will go in there? We want to anticipate the problems. When you delegate, you're not delegating the right to perform and something, you're delegating the right to make decisions. So you're not delegating the right to perform something, noun is needed. Perform, you're not delegating the right to perform role, perform action, perform a role, perform an action, you're delegating the right to make decisions. So which one goes with decisions here? And in the case when you are delegating something, you want someone to perform a role or perform an action, answer will be action in this case. So action is gone, anticipate is gone. It is important to be dash, it is important to be ed, so there is no ed, so we will be using adjective here. It is important to be flexible, it is important to be constructive, it is important to be austere, it is important to be productive. Let's see. So in order to identify, you need to read the further, the context. As the person to whom you delegate may have a better and faster way of completing a job than you. So what do you mean? So it is important to be something as the person to whom you delegate may have a better and faster way. So when someone has a better and faster way of completing a job, what do you want? You want to be flexible, you want to be constructive, you want to be productive, you want to be flexible because you're going to give them responsibility. Next one, a brief can be misinterpreted, so it is a good idea to ask for it to be repeated back to you. Dash responsibility for a delegated task remains with you. So which responsibility? Adjective is needed. Overall responsibility. For a delegated task remains with you. It is helpful to others if you can provide dash feedback. What type of feedback? You need an adjective here. So flexible is gone, overall is gone. So what do you want the feedback? You want constructive feedback or you want productive feedback? So feedback is not productive, feedback is always constructive. So we have answers are anticipate, action, flexible, overall responsibility and constructive feedback. I hope you're finding this very helpful. Please click on the subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends, and feel free to let me know if you want more of such videos. Any particular topic you want me to cover, I'll be more than happy to cover. All right, let's move to the next question now. And the next question is reading and writing blanks. We also call them drop down blanks. One of the very important questions, completely strategy based questions. You won't see much questions getting repeated in real exam. So you need to know that you're really good with your techniques and strategies in this particular question. How we approach this question? We will try to understand the context and collocation, and then accordingly we will select the word. In these questions, it's not more about right or wrong response. It is more about more correct and less correct options. Most of them times you will be coming across such a scenario. So pause the video, spend about 2.5 minutes on this question, try to solve it, and then come back and have a look at the discussion. Let's do this together. If after years of Spanish classes, some people still find it impossible to understand some native speakers, they should not worry. This does not dash mean the lessons were wasted. This does not mean the lessons were. So if you look at the sentences complete in itself, even if you don't write that this does not mean. So what we are looking at is here is an adverb, ly word. So when you click on the options, you will see all ly words, usually, necessarily, only, particularly, and you really need to understand the context. So in order to identify what I'm going to do here, I need to understand this sentence and the sentence after that. So it's saying some people find it impossible to understand. This does not dash mean the lessons were wasted. Millions of Spanish speakers use neither standard Latin American Spanish or Castilian, which predominates in US schools. So that means they are in a way saying, don't worry, you have not actually wasted your lessons. So if I look at the options, only cannot go in there. Usually will not go in there, because usually means sometimes it is wasted. So either it is necessarily or particularly. This does not necessarily mean that lessons were wasted. So it is not necessary that you have wasted your lessons. Now please do not read this. go straight to the or close to the next blank. Only read this if you are not able to find the answer for this one by looking at these options here. The most common Spanish dialect taught in the US is Standard Latin American. It is sometimes called Highland Spanish since it is generally spoken in the dash areas of Latin America. So if you look at the options, it's rocky areas, mountainous areas, coastal areas, hidden areas, all of them will make sense. So in order to identify the answer, you have to understand the context here. So what do they say? It is sometimes called Highland Spanish since it is spoken in the highland. And which is the highland out of these four options here? Answer will be mountainous areas of Latin America. While each country retains its own dash and has some unique vocabulary, residents of countries such as Mexico and Colombia, Peru and Bolivia generally speak Latin American Spanish. While each country retains its own something and has some unique vocabulary. So each country can retain something. Retain what? It can retain thoughts, actions, accents and authority. Now since this is about language, this is about Spanish language and learning about language, we are talking about vocabulary. Answer will be accents here. Next one, this dialect is noted for its dash of each letter and its strong R sounds. So because we are talking about sounds, answer will be pronunciation. Again, because it is more relevant in this context of language learning. This Spanish was spoken in Spain in the 16th and 17th century and was brought to the Americas by the early colonists. However, the Spanish of Madrid and of northern Spain called Castilian developed something that never reached the world. So it developed characteristics, problems, normality, distinguishes. These two words will not make sense in the context of language. So language can have characteristics, language can have problems. So in order to identify what is the right response here, we need to read the next sentence here. And when you read that next sentence, they are more talking about the characteristics. They are not highlighting any problem. So answer here will be characteristics of the problem. So answers are necessarily mountainous, accents, pronunciation and characteristics. Let's move to the next question. Next question. It seems we live in a bizarre universe. One of the greatest mysteries in the whole of science is the prospect that 75% of the universe is made from a mysterious something known as dark energy. So 75% of the universe is made up of mysterious something known as dark energy. So what can you refer to energy as? Can you say metal, character, substance or things? Metal will not go there. Character will not go in there. Things is a very generic word. So we can say mysterious substance known as dark energy, which causes an acceleration of the cosmic expansion. Since a further 21% of the universe is made from invisible cold dark matter that can only be dashed through its gravitational effects, the ordinary atomic matter making up for the rest is apparently only 4% of the total cosmic budget. So here we have to select seen, detected, visible and conducted. So we are talking about cold dark matter. Now cold dark matter can be seen, can be detected, can be visible. We can't say can be conducted. So elimination of one of the words is done. Now out of the seen, detected or visible, in order to find the right response, we will have to look at the context. Since the further of the universe is made up from invisible cold dark matter, and because something is invisible, it cannot be detected, it cannot be visible. Answer will be it is detected through gravitational effects. Make sense? These dash require a shift in our perception as great as that after Copernicus something. These something, inventions, theories, discoveries and energies. So what is happening up here? We are finding out something that is that universe has. So inventions will not go in there. Inventions is when we create something new. It is already existing. Energies and theories in this case will not make sense. So the more appropriate response here will be these discoveries require a shift. What discoveries? Whatever up here. These are discoveries. Require a shift in our perception as great as that made after Copernicus something that the earth moves around the world. Copernicus revelation, enclosure, innovation or confession. So that the earth moves around the sun Copernicus revealed it. So we say revelation. So this is based on a little bit on vocabulary. Some questions you will see coming based on vocabulary, but very few questions, right? Then we go to the next one. This lecture will dash the current evidence for dark energy and future surveys in which UCL is heavily involved, the Dark Energy Survey, the Hubble Space Telescope, and the proposed Euclid space emissions. So this lecture will discover, summarize, encapsulates, grammatically doesn't fit in, generate. So lectures can summarize the current evidence. So evidence can be summarized using a lecture. Evidence cannot be discovered, encapsulates grammatically doesn't fit in there, generate will not make sense in there. So answers are substance, detected, discoveries, revelation, and summarize. Please let me know by sending your comments in the comment section whether you're really liking this video. Subscribe, like, hit on the like button, and tell me if you want me to do any specific videos on specific topics. I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, let's discuss this one. In 1959, the partial skeletal remains of an ancient woman dashed to be 10,000 years old were unearthed in Arlington Springs on Santa Rosa Island. So skeletal remains, look at the nouns we are talking about, of the ancient woman to be 10,000 years old, unearthed, right? So assumed, thought, so woman assumed to be, thought to be, estimated to be, calculated to be. All of them will make sense, but we are not looking at the right or wrong answer. We are looking at the more correct option, as I was saying in the beginning. Now, since we are talking about numbers here, we will have to eliminate assumed and thought, because more appropriate words when we talk about numbers is estimated or calculated. And in the case of discoveries, we are never 100% sure, therefore the answer will be estimated to be 10,000 years old were unearthed, right? Roughly they guessed it. Estimated is used with numbers. One of the 8 Channel Islands of the Southern California coast, they were dashed by Phil C. Orr, curator of anthropology and natural history at the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History. They were dashed. They is here referring to the skeletal remains here. Now they were found, discovered, revealed, or exposed. Because we are talking about a history, we are talking about an historical evidence that we found, and in this case the more appropriate word, again, it's not about right or wrong, it's more appropriate one will be discovered. They were discovered by Phil C. Orr. Something we discover, find out for the first time, it's called discovery. Found is very general, it can be used for anything. Revealed and exposed. Next one, the remains of the so-called Arlington Springs woman were recently reanalyzed by the dash radiocarbon dating techniques. By the dash dating techniques, by the techniques, what techniques? New techniques, up-to-date techniques, latest techniques, or hottest techniques. So if you look at this word techniques, the collocation is with latest. We say latest technology, latest technique, right? We don't say new technique. I mean, we can say, but in this context, we have to refer to latest techniques. That means the very new one that we have found, and were found to be approximately 13,000 years old. So what they were saying, initially it was estimated to be 10,000, but now they are finding it that it was 13,000 years old. The new date makes her remains older than any other known human skeleton found so far in North America. The discovery dashed the popular belief that the first colonists to North America arrived at the end of the last ice age at about 11,500 years ago. So this discovery is dashed. What was the belief earlier? The earlier belief was that the first colonists that came to North America were about 11,500 years, but this one is 13,000. That means this was before it. Now what is happening there? Contradiction. So contradiction. So what is the discovery is? Challenging the belief, experimenting the belief, encountering the belief, or testing the belief. So we don't go with these words. Encountering or challenging in this case, because it is wrong, we are proving it wrong. So in this case, the more appropriate answer will be the discovery challenges the popular belief that the first colonists to North America arrived at the end of last ice age. And then the last one will be the earlier date and the location of the woman's remains on the island adds weight to an alternative theory that some early settlers may have dashed boats and migrated from Asia by sailing down the Pacific. may have dashboards. So manufactured boats, it should be manufactured, discovered boats, constructed boats, or created boats. So settlers may have discovered boats. No, we don't discover boat. Created, manufactured, or construct. We don't go for manufactured because manufactured is a word that is more used for mechanical things, right? It's something that is made using some sort of machines. Manufacturing, constructed, or created. So which one makes more sense? Early settlers may have constructed boats or may have created boats and migrated from Asia by sailing down the. So the answer will be constructed boats. Let's move to the next question. Social reforms are normally dash as a result of statistical analysis of factors such as crime rates and poverty levels, etc. Social reforms are normally dash as a result of statistical analysis of factors. Opened, devised, originated, or initiated. What is originated? What is initiated? What is devised? Social reforms. So social reforms, we can't say they are opened. They are devised, originated, initiated as a result of statistical analysis. So what happens to the changes? Reforms means changes. Do we devise the changes? Do we initiate the changes? Or do we originate the changes? Answer will be initiated, started. A change starts. Next one, manufacturers. So don't waste your time reading unnecessary sentences. Only read them if you really need to read it. That means if you're not able to solve the question without referring to that. Otherwise, go to the next blank straight away and read the sentence before and after. Manufacturers can provide better products at lower costs by dash statistical control tools. By dash, by referring, relating, using, and engineering. We can use ing. Now we have to look at by which one makes more sense. By referring to, by relating, statistical, no, relating with, using or engineering, by tools are used. Tools are not referred, they are not related, they may be engineered, but in this case it will be tools are used. So better products at lower cost by using statistical control tools. Dash as. So whenever you see a preposition after the blank, you're going to look at the word that is mostly used with as, and in this case it will be such as. Next one, dash statistical analysis of fatality rates. Legislators can better justify laws such as those governing air pollution. By statistical analysis, through statistical analysis, for statistical, or within. So these two words will not make sense. We can say by statistical analysis of fatality, we can say through statistical analysis of fatality rates. Now by is normally used by using statistical analysis, by analyzing it statistically, ing. In this case we'll be using through statistical analysis of fatality rates. Legislators can better justify the laws. Let's move to the next one. Do the same thing, pause the video, have a look at the, try to solve it and then come back and have a look at the discussion. Crime prevention has a long history in Australia and in other parts of the world. In all societies, people have tried to dash themselves and those close to them from assaults and other abuses. So people have tried to deal, tried to cope, tried to respond, tried to protect themselves and those close to them from assaults and others. So what is happening here? People are dealing, people are coping, responding, or protecting, and your answer will be somewhere here, from. So deal with, cope with, respond to, protect from assaults. So they are protecting themselves and those close to them from assaults. Answer will be protect. Every time someone locks the door to their house or their car, they practice dash prevention. They practice a form of prevention. This is a collocation again. Practice a form of prevention. Practice a form of prevention. Next one. In a functioning society, crime prevention is dash everyday life. Crime prevention is. So what is? Crime prevention is way of life, sense of life, part of life, or line of life. So sense of will not make sense. We don't say sense of life, we don't say line of life. We can say it is part of life. If it is an important part, we can also say it's way of life. Way of life is, that means that's how they live. So in this case, we are not talking about way of life, we are talking something that is important part of our life. And what is that? Crime prevention is part of everyday life. Next one. When politicians, talkback radio hosts, and newspaper editorialists pontificate about crime and dash remedies, possible remedies, promising remedies, thinkable remedies, I don't think that, right? Prospective remedies, don't say. So either we can say possible remedies or promising remedies. So when they pontificate about crime and possible solutions, it is comparatively rare for them to, so this is straightforward, them to mention prevention. The answers are protect, a form of, part of, possible, them to. Two more questions to go, and it will be multiple choice single answer, two questions. Let's do this one here. The first thing we do is we read the question. How does helicopter parenting affect children? So skimming and scanning, you really need to find out what are they talking about here. How are they affecting? So when you skim and scan, especially when there are two paragraphs, look at what this paragraph is starting with and what this paragraph is starting with. So you need to say, you need to think, or right, have an idea, where do you think you'll find this? So in the first paragraph, if you read, they are mainly talking about what is helicopter parenting. Second one, very first line gives you a clue that your answer will be somewhere here, because they're saying not everyone is in favor of this parenting style. So that means they are talking about the effects. And when you read this, you go through it, skimming and scanning, you'll see that they are talking about, some find that constant attention of parent can be intrusive to a child's development. Psychologists point out that the constant presence of parents can be interpreted by children as psychological absence, the parent only wanting what's best for her children, in her opinion, neglecting the opinion of their child. So negative, one thing we need negative. So when you're reading the options, positives, don't even look at them. The constant presence allows for close attention to children, definitely not. We are looking at something negative. The children get guidance in every sphere of their life, no. Children feel that the attention helps them in their continuous development, no. So answer is going to be the last one. Children feel that they do not have a choice of their own. Answer is somewhere here. Got it? Let's move to the next one. First thing, which of the following most accurately summarizes the opinion of the author in the text? So these are called main idea or summary type questions, and you will mostly be able to solve these questions by reading the first couple of lines and the last line, or last couple of lines. You don't really have to read everything in there. Let's read this. Early this month, a popular science magazine published a research which claims that dogs are able to perceive both the tone of human voice as well as the meanings of words that are said to them. The researchers believe that the human ability to form words, the basic blocks of language, emerged as a cerebral mechanism to support communication. Don't really need to read everything. I can go straight to the last sentence. Meanwhile, the scientists documented the animal's cerebral activity. So one thing is sure, that your answer, whatever it is, it has to talk about the words that are appearing there: animal, dog, cerebral activity, right? Otherwise you will not be able to most accurately summarize the opinion. First one, scientists from Budapest managed to record the different tones of dog's voice inside a magnetic resonance device. Maybe, but can we say that is most accurately summarizing it? Let's read further. Dogs can manage to distinguish what is expected from them based on the quality of sounds of the terms that humans utter. Mentioned, but is that the most accurate summary? Let's read further. A group of researchers is convinced that dogs are developing a cerebral mechanism in order to be able to finally articulate words. Looks like researchers, dogs, cerebral. So I'm seeing the words appearing that were there in the first couple of lines in the last line. European scientists are training dogs to hear human voices correctly, right? Not really. So out of A, B, C and D, the most accurate summary will be this one here, C. I hope this really helped you to understand how to approach the reading test and how this can be easily done if you know the right techniques and strategies and logics. If you like the video, let me know in the comment section if you want more videos to be posted on similar lines or any specific topic that you want me to cover. Please subscribe the video and like and share with your friends if you find this helpful. And if you're looking for proper online strategic training, feel free to give us a call back on that number on the screen. send me a message on my WhatsApp. I'll be more than happy to help you out and guide you how to overcome the problems, the issues that you're facing with your PTE preparation. All right. All the very best. Thank you very much. God bless you all.